So, you're new at Hell Let Loose and you're desperately seeking guidance. Don't worry, in this video, I will help guide you through the basics of the game. Hell Let Loose is a type of game that will chew you up and spit you out if you have no idea what you're doing. And for so many of us that are new, we don't know what's going on and we suck, quite frankly. From the different classes, figuring out how spawning works, to why you can't hit anyone with the German's bolt-action Kar 98K, this video will walk you through the basics of Hell Let Loose so the next time you spawn onto the battlefield, you will actually contribute to your squad and the team's overall success instead of being that guy everyone votes to kick for cheating or just because you suck. I'm going to organize this video into 3 sections. First, I'm going to go through the game modes, pretty brief, there's only 2 as of right now, and they're pretty easy to understand. Second, I'm going to walk through all the different classes that you can play as, give you some tips and tricks, some pretty basic information, and then last but not least, I'm going to provide you some general advice on how to, well, basically not get yourself killed and how you can actually contribute to your squad. I'm going to go pretty quick throughout this video because this game is massive and everyone has a different opinion on how to do certain things. I'm just going to give you my own and hopefully it helps. All right, game modes. In Hell Let Loose right now, there are only 2. The first one is Warfare, and then the second is Offensive. Warfare. Other than having a really cool name, it's pretty easy to understand, like I said. It's very comparable to Battlefield's Conquest mode, with some major differences. The first main difference is that unlike in Battlefield, where you can attack or defend any objective on the map, in Hell Let Loose, there's a front line. And that means that you're only either capturing or defending one objective at a time, right? So the Germans are attacking the American objective while defending from the Americans trying to take their own objective. So, with that being said, only certain members of the team, such as the sniper and the spotter, can move beyond a certain distance into the map. So, if you're just a frontline grunt rifleman, you're not going to be able to maneuver all the way to the back of the enemy's, controlled area and start spawn camping. That's not a thing in Hell Let Loose. Thankfully, it's one of actually the big pluses of the game. The last major difference between Warfare and Offensive is that in Warfare, both teams have access to artillery. Now, whether or not they use it effectively is anyone's guess because it kind of takes it takes a little bit of communication, a little bit of finesse in order to properly use artillery, which might sound counterintuitive, but that's how it is. And that is Warfare. Moving on to game mode number 2, Offensive. In Offensive, it's rather straightforward. You got one team attacking, the others defending. The defender starts out holding each sector, and guess what? They need to keep the attackers from seizing all their objectives. Weird. The attacker only starts out with one HQ spawn right near the first defending objective. So the game advances with the attackers seizing all the objectives, or the defenders hold them off for the time limit for each sector. So it's important to know that each defensive sector has a set time limit of 30 minutes. So basically, if you're the attacking team, you have a half hour to take the objective, or otherwise you lose the game. Or the attackers can take all the objectives and then the defenders lose. So the defenders have a key advantage, but if the attackers move quickly and use good movement and maneuver, they can actually kind of sweep the field if they use it correctly. Last but not least, in Offensive, only the defenders have artillery. Again, whether or not they use it properly is anyone's guess, but I also did want to mention that. So that is game mode number 2, Offensive. With that wrapped up, I'm going to now move into part 2 of the video, which is the classes that you can play as an infantry, armor, or recon soldier throughout the game. I'm going to start off with infantry because it's the most varied. This is the most common class to play as in the game. And if you are watching this video and you are brand new to Hell Let Loose, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to start working your way through the infantry roles and responsibilities because that will teach you everything you need to know about this game. So starting off with class number 1, Officer. If you are new to this game, this is the second class that I don't recommend you starting off as. I will get to the first one later on, but for right now, if you are new, do not drop into your first game and play as the Officer. Now, with that being said, if after a couple matches you want to give it a shot, go for it. Just when you drop in, let your squad know, hey man, I'm new. Help me learn this position. And the community is actually quite good at walking new people through the game, giving them tips, giving them advice, just like, in an actual military unit, after a little bit of hazing, they'll teach you how to do your job. The officer has two main responsibilities. First is communication with the commander. They need to be able to communicate what their squad is seeing, what they're doing, who they're engaging, what their tasks are, how they're approaching the situation at hand while they're relaying what the commander needs to their squad. So, example, if the commander needs a squad to defend, the squad leader's job is to say, "Hey guys, we need to defend this garrison." Or if the commander needs, supply nodes or, fortifications or whatever, you as the squad leader are the relay to the guys that are actually going to get that done. So that is the first job of the officer. The second job of the officer is to place down spawn points or observation posts for your squad. These spawn points are much, much more flexible than the traditional garrison. However, they only allow your squad to spawn in. So if you're playing as the officer and your squad is yelling at you and you have no idea why, odds are you haven't dropped an OP recently and your guys are having to run 700 meters across a bunch of open fields in Carentan and the hedgerows of Normandy or now in El Alamein, and they're getting one-shotted and popped, and then that's their game experience. So if you're the officer, put down spawn points and communicate up and down the chain of command. If you do those two things, you will have a good game. Moving on to class number 2, the Rifleman. So if you are watching this video and you're new to Hell Let Loose, this is the very first class that I want you to play as. The reason being is that there are 6 slots to play as the Rifleman within the squad. That is because they are the most common soldier you will see in the match. And newsflash, your only job as a rifleman is to stack bodies and to kill the enemy. So if you don't know what to do as any of the other classes because you're new, play the rifleman because all you have to worry about is killing the guys that are in the different colored uniforms than you, and it's pretty simple. Another piece of advice if you are new and you're playing as the rifleman and you don't know where to go, don't know what to do, find your squad leader, say, hey man, I'm brand new at this game. I'm just going to follow you around and try to keep you alive. And if you do that, you will learn his position. You will, witness how the other members of the squad interact and all that jazz. And, it'll be a good teaching experience for you. And there's no shame in playing as the rifleman. I mean, I have hundreds of hours into this game and I will still drop in as a rifleman every now and then just because I don't want to worry about any of the other roles and responsibilities. I just want to use my M1 Garand and throw a grenade into a building and kill Germans in France. That's sometimes that's all a guy wants to do in life, and that's okay. Class number 3, Assault. So Assault is the close range oriented class. You have access to either automatic or semi-automatic weapons, depending on whichever faction you're playing as. If you're the Germans, right out the gate, you get the MP40, which is my baby. I love that gun. And if you do want to run and gun, and I even hate even using that term. Well, run and gun as much as you can in Hell Let Loose. This is the class for you, right? Now, with that being said, you do have access to smoke grenades, which are a very valuable tool. So if you have in your squad or running across an open field, drop a couple smokes. It'll maybe keep you guys alive. Other than that, Assault is a pretty easily understood class. I mean, when you're in the streets of Stalingrad or whatever close quarters environment, that is your baby. That's your job. You are much more effective at that than a rifleman, for example, or an automatic rifleman, or what have you. Moving on, class number 4, automatic rifleman. So, do you want to be assault, but you just want a bigger gun? I mean, size sometimes matters, right? Right? Welcome to the automatic rifleman class. So here you're going to have automatic weapon of some sort that can typically reach out and punch with a little bit more weight than the assault's MP40, for example. This will allow you to support your squad on the maneuver in a much more flexible way than the machine gunner class, for example, while still maintaining a high level of mobility. Now, with that being said, and this is just me talking, I can't aim for shit with these weapons. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, other than the German STG 44, like the American BAR can't shoot with it. The British Bren gun that's new in the game cannot shoot with it. I just, the Russian PPSH, that one's pretty good, but the only real automatic rifleman weapon that I'm pretty good with is the German STG. But that's just me, and don't judge me for it. So yeah, that's the automatic rifleman. Pretty basic. Moving on. Class number 5, the medic. So, remember the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan, where those American medics are patching up the homeboy who got tapped while he was running across the beach? And then, right when they get the bleeding stopped, the sniper just shoots him right in the head, and then all their work was for nothing. That's what it's like being a medic in Hell Let Loose. Now, with that being said, do not let that dissuade you. Playing as the medic is one of the most enjoyable experiences in this game, in my opinion. If you haven't figured it out, your job as the medic is to keep troops in the fight. And so when shit's going, hitting the fan and all those little, icons are popping up saying it's time to go to business, you can become an insanely valuable asset, not just to your squad, but to your team. And everybody will be cheering you on and chanting your name if you're running through all this bullets and then you're patching them up and you have a little catchphrase. I always like to say, "Get back in the fight, soldier," just because I'm a nerd, and that's just how I do things. The Vedic, it's a very, very fun class to play as. You're not a frontline infantry soldier, so please don't go try to kick down doors and clear rooms because people are going to be mad. Because when the rifleman goes through and he gets wounded and you're already dead, then you're a waste. But yeah, that's the medic class. So, class number 6, support. So, if the medic class is keeping people in the fight, support is the class that lets your squad keep fighting. Their role is actually quite flexible. If you're on the defense, you can snag a supply truck and run supplies to wherever your commander needs them, if your squad leader is communicating with them. Or you can, be more on the front line and dropping your own smaller supply pack for your squad, for their engineer, for their AT gunner, to build smaller defenses or AT, weapon systems like that. You also carry ammo packs, just to help resupply your squads. Again, very helpful on the defense, but also very helpful on the offense if you guys are maneuvering very quickly. That's a really key thing. But I mean, other than that, that's a really basic description of the support class that'll get you to pass the class. So we're going to move on to the big guns, which is class number 7, the machine gunner. Now, I am very proud of myself for saving this next statement for this far into the video, but I'm just going to lay it down for you. Hell Let Loose is not Call of Duty. Let me say it again for those of you in the back. Hell Let Loose is not Call of Duty. So, if you expect to be able to sprint across the map with the MG42 or another medium machine gun and just mow down dozens of enemies while hip firing, good luck, because it's not going to work. Your teammates will hate you, and you'll constantly get domed in the head, and it's going to be funny, and everybody's going to hate you, and I'm going to laugh at you. So, with that out of the way, the job of the machine gunner is to support your squad while they are moving, maneuvering, defending, attacking, what have you. So, a little bit of a tip here, you should probably play slightly behind, your rifleman, your assault, your automatic rifleman, and always be thinking to yourself, how can I cover my squad as they, maneuver through this area? Because if you always have that in the back of your mind, you're going to be thinking a little bit more strategically because the machine gunner can absolutely obliterate the enemy team if they are prepared, if they have their bipod down, and if they're thinking in this mindset. If you want to even go crazier with it, find another squad's machine gunner and, sync up. Be like, hey, man, why don't we talk guns? Why don't we coordinate? That way, you're always laying hate down range, and the bad guys are continually having a bad day while your homeboys are maneuvering on them. And, when the machine gunners lift their fire, oh shit, then there's the rifleman, the assault, and whoever else right in their face, and they just, carry the day. So that's the machine gunner. Please play it wisely. And, I'm not going to lie, the MG42 is a low key sniper rifle. So, maybe that's a valid playstyle as well. Moving on. Class number 8, the anti-tank soldier. Now, I could just leave the description as that because the name does define what it is, but I'm just going to go into it really quickly. Your entire purpose in life as the AT gunner is to either hunt or deal with enemy armored vehicles as they appear on the battlefield. Or if you advance the class high enough, you can go slightly past the front line and inflict absolute chaos upon the enemy supply lines, which is a very fun play style. But yeah, that's that for right now. The AT gunner, they can pack whatever form of rocket launcher, or if you're the Russians, I'm sorry, you get the high caliber AT semi-automatic rifle that we all love from Call of Duty World at War. That it's kind of enjoyable to shoot. You're probably never going to kill a tank with it, but you can also snipe people with it, kind of. But that's not the purpose of the position, right? Or the middle class in AT gunner is that you can drop down anti-tank guns, work in conjunction with your support squad mate, and then use these to either support advances or contribute to the defense of the sector, whatever it is. And last but not least, communicate with your squad and let your squad leader know, hey man, let me know when guys are pinging enemy vehicles so I can go take them out. Because the quicker that you can tank out, the quicker you can take out the enemy tanks, is the faster that you can stop them from absolutely murdering everybody on your squad. So yeah, that is that. Moving on. Class 9, the last class in the infantry section, is the engineer. Now, the engineer is one of my personal favorites to play as within Hell Let Loose. It's a pretty versatile class because you can either, be having a little base building mini game where you're building up supplies, bunkers, barbed wire, and it's, kind of enjoyable when you spend time trying to build up the defenses of a sector, and then the enemy finally gets to it, and your infantry, your riflemen, your machine gunners are using the defenses that you built. That's kind of like, a little bit of gratification that you get to pat yourself on the back with. Or you can be an absolute menace with the second class, dropping AP mines, anti-personnel, satchel charges, which are just very fun to use. And if you're the American, you can pack the war crime machine that is a trench shotgun, which is just a very enjoyable gameplay experience. But that's the engineer. Communicate with your squad leader. Again, that's a running theme throughout this entire game. See where the commander needs defenses built. See where they need supply nodes built, which is very important. And just have a good time. But yeah, that is the last class in the infantry section. I'm gonna now be moving into the recon section. So the first class in the recon section is the spotter. Now, I think the spotter gets a lot of hate, but it really can be an enjoyable time if, and I say again, if you have a sniper that is A, playing cooperatively, as in they have a mic, they are not just hunting people just to hunt people, they're not just looking for kills, and then B, if you have a good commander that'll listen to you, because the spotter's job is, like I just said, working with your sniper to identify, hey, this is where an enemy garrison is, this is where the enemy OPs are, and you can move behind the lines further than any other infantry soldier and absolutely wreak havoc. Hunt the enemy, spawn points, hunt the enemy supply nodes. If the enemy is absolutely destroying you with artillery because they're the one person in the game that knows how to use it, you can go and you can take care of business on that. So yeah, that's the spotter. They are able to communicate with the commander, which is important, with all the other squad leaders, which is important, and like I said, work hand in hand with your sniper. Which leads us into the second class of the recon team, which, as I just said, a handful of times, is the sniper class. So the sniper is the class everybody wants to play as all the time, but you will rarely ever get to play as a sniper because, and I'm going to say this slow, there are only two snipers per team. I'm going to say that again. 2 snipers per team. So that means you better be quick on the trigger at the start of the game and snag yourself a spot and then pray to the Almighty Father above that your spotter doesn't kick you out of the sniper squad just because he wants his buddy to take that slot. Now, with that out of the way, Sniper is a very, very, very enjoyable experience, obviously. And like I said, it's more enjoyable when you're working with your spotter who's calling targets for you, when you're behind the enemy lines and you guys come upon an enemy supply node area and you take those out because you're wreaking havoc to that enemy commander. If the artillery is just destroying your guys, you can be the one that solves that problem, like I said, for the spotter class. And, there is nothing more enjoyable than getting that little satisfying headshot ding noise when you pop a Nazi when they're running across the field in Foy, for example, as they're trying to take your objective, and you're like, yeah, not today, buddy. But yeah, that's Sniper, that's Spotter, that's the Recon class. Let's move into the Armor section now. So, very similar to the Recon section, in Armor, you only got 2 choices. The first is Tank Commander, and the second is Crewman. So, for Tank Commander, as you might, be able to figure out because you're a smart cookie, is that the commander of the tank can communicate with the other squad leaders. They can communicate with the overall unit commander, and, they're responsible for guiding the tank. Typically, they will be riding in the, observation deck of the tank, so they can call out targets, they can call out mines, they can keep an eye on your flank to make sure you're not getting satchel charged by a sneaky little American with a trench gun. And, it's important to note they do not have a repair tool. So if you are the tank commander and you're going solo, just don't get shot because you're not going to be able to repair your tank. Then, last but not least, is the tank crewman or just crewman. Pretty simple. You got the repair tool. You're either driving or gunning the tank. Typically, listen to what your commander has to say for the tank. If he says go left because nobody wants to be that guy when you're just trying to role play and command your tank, and the crewmen aren't listening to you. Work in conjunction though, so see something, say something. Just like how we were all taught in elementary school. But yeah, that's the crewman. Pretty self-explanatory. And so last but not least is the commander position in Hell Let Loose. This is the very first position I do not want you to play as if you are the new guy in the game. It's not because I don't believe in you. It's because you're not going to know what you're doing. Everybody's going to yell at you because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're supposed to do. Then you're going to get voted to or kicked out. Everybody's going to vote to kick you, and then you're going to be like, "Wow, this game sucks." When in reality, all you needed to do was watch this video and learn. So, the commander's job, as you might, be able to figure out, is to lead the overall effort of your unit in the match, right? So you have options of different, supports that you can call in: airstrikes, artillery strikes, recon planes, all that nonsense, which is very, very fun. But all of that relies on your squad leaders getting their squads to build you different nodes or supply nodes, manpower nodes, munitions, so on and so forth. Um, Playing as the commander is a very, very enjoyable experience, but is highly dependent on having a squad leader, or excuse me, squad leaders who are open to communicating with you and know how to play the game and will listen to what you understand and what you want to do. So that's the commander position, and that wraps up the second portion of the video. So the third and final section of this video is going to be rather quick. I just want to give you some pretty brief tips of just, how to be successful in this game, because like I've been saying throughout it, there's a lot to learn, and, I just want you to have fun because it is a really fun game. And so let me just dive into the tips right here, right now. Tip number one: shoot, move, communicate. And that's a buzzword that you'll hear thrown around, but communication really is key to success on the battlefield. Like I said, for the tank section, if you see something, say something. If you see guys moving at whatever degree at however many meters away, call it out because maybe it's not marked yet. Second tip: don't run and gun and expect to survive 99% of the time. Like I said, this is not Call of Duty, and if you play it as Call of Duty, you will suck and you will lose. Tip number three: think before you act. So don't just run across the field. Think to myself, hey, Is there a firefight going on in this field? Maybe I should approach through this side, or maybe I should skirt the field, vice versa, however you want to do it. Tip number 4, work as a team. Like I said throughout this video, each position has a role and a responsibility to perform in the squad. Know your role, perform your role, and be able to help out others that might not know their own. Tip number 5, you're going to get killed a lot. You're going to die a lot. You're going to spawn in at a garrison in a key point of the battle and get just domed or artillery striked or fragged. And that's just part of the game, man. Maybe think to yourself, okay, can I spawn in a different area and maneuver? Or, how can I do this that won't just lead me to dying right away? Tip number 6, find ways to contribute to the success of your squad, and that will contribute to the success of your team. Because one thing I know a lot of people complain about is that they don't know if they're really helping their team win or not. Don't worry about that. Worry about having your squad win. And if you do that, then, if the dominoes fall in the right direction and the gods above determine that your team needs to win, then your team will win. Last but not least, have fun, and just get out there and make a difference. That is all I have for you today. If you appreciated this video, if you learned something new, if you like it, however you may feel about it, please, consider leaving a like. Maybe if you're feeling frisky, even a subscription. I mean, that would be really cool too. But anyways, thank you very much for watching the video. I truly do appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And like I just said with my last tip, go out there, make a difference, and brighten somebody else's day.